I am Ibrahim Traore, and today I am exposing the false narratives. You label me a young radical military leader, an enemy of the West. But I speak the truth, and this time you can't silence me, you can't mute the microphones, you can't turn off the cameras, and your editors can't manipulate my words. The world you once controlled no longer exists. Millions now hear unfiltered voices like mine, voices you've tried to drown with lies for decades. As a child, I only saw negative images of Africa on television, starving children, drought, violence, and war. This was the Africa we were told to believe in, a continent to pity and be ashamed of. But as I matured, I read, I asked questions, and I discovered that the Africa you presented to us was a complete fabrication. It was a scripted portrayal meant to justify your actions and control. You've portrayed us as uncivilized, helpless, and in need of rescue. You repeat the same narrative: poverty, disease, conflict, while ignoring the continent's success, progress, and dignity. Have you ever put Africa's achievements on your front pages? Rwanda's tech boom, Ethiopia's tree planting efforts, Botswana's democratic stability, Kenya's innovation scene. None of these fit your agenda, so they go unmentioned. Because if Africa is successful, your exploitation loses its justification. Africa is incredibly rich in natural resources. Cobalt, vital for electronics, from Congo, yet Congolese people can't afford basic tech. Platinum from South Africa powers your industries, yet millions there are unemployed. Gold from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Ghana flows out, while locals live in poverty. Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Angola, and Botswana are worth billions, yet miners earn $1 a day. Uranium from Niger and Namibia powers European cities, while African villages remain in the dark. So the real question isn't why Africa is poor, but how it's been kept poor despite such abundance. The answer? Colonialism didn't end, it evolved. You no longer colonize with armies, you do it with corporations, unfair contracts, and debt traps. You use bribery, backroom deals, and offshore accounts to drain Africa's wealth. You make long-term concessions, demand tax exemptions, ignore environmental and labor rules, and then secure your interest with private security firms. You control ports and transport lines, from mine to export, but never build for the people. The system works in silence. You show images of suffering, but hide the billion-dollar flows of diamonds, oil, and minerals leaving the continent. You create corruption, own the infrastructure, suppress dissent, and manipulate the media. All of this while pretending to be benevolent. Let's talk specifics. Glencore, a Swiss mining firm, made $256 billion in 2022 from Congolese cobalt, but paid only $500 million in taxes, just 0.2%. Rio Tinto extracts millions of tons of bauxite from Guinea, leaving behind toxic pollution. Total Energies pumps oil from Angola and Nigeria, reaping billions while offering little to the local people. Anglo-American, once South African, now UK-based, takes vast resources, leaving 6 million miners jobless. And beyond these visible injustices, secret deals and financial manipulation siphon off $88 billion illegally from Africa every year. Meanwhile, you boast about giving $4 billion in aid. In truth, Africa gives the world far more than it receives. France keeps 14 African nations tied to its old colonial currency, the CFA franc. Half of their reserves are still held in the French treasury with negative interest. France extracts $500 billion annually through this setup, yet when it gives $10 billion in aid, it dominates headlines. Britain runs the global money laundering hub. The City of London and its offshore territories hide Africa's stolen wealth. The US controls Africa through its military command, AFRICOM, with 46 bases, not for security but for resource control. And China has entered with promises of partnership, but in return takes ports, mines, and land for decades, locking countries into debt. None of this is covered by the mainstream media. Why? Because they're owned by billionaires with vested interests. The biggest media outlets are funded by the very corporations exploiting Africa, oil, mining, arms, and pharma giants. Their editors and reporters come from elite institutions, speak only colonial languages, and represent a narrow worldview. So how can they tell Africa's story?